The Canes put it together in their final home game and left no doubt against NC State. Miami's got two more, including old rival Virginia Tech coming up on Saturday in Blacksburg. We'll run it down with all of you. Pull up, join us for 60. Leave those comments and questions in the chat. We appreciate your contribution. Of course, you help produce the show. Canes Live, 8-2, 2 to go. Cam Underwood right next to me. The State of the U, of course, is your destination for Miami football coverage each and every day. And Cam, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, doing great. Can't complain. I'm going to angle down my camera just one little bit, so I'm more in the frame. But yeah, glad to be here. Another win to the record, and we get to move forward. So we're going to touch on that in a little bit. But yeah, good to see everybody in here already getting started. And hey, I got to celebrate the winner this week. Throw it up for Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle, throwing up the L. First in with the super sticker. And then right behind him, throw up the X for Faulkner TRX.
Falconer.
Yeah. Always great to see you guys. I see your question, Leroy. Actually, it's separate from the super chat, but I'm going to start here. All the chatter, do you think Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, the quarterback, will come to Miami? Personally, I don't want it to happen, so says Leroy. I'm formulating my view of quarterback relative to Miami specifically. What I will say is, given the options potentially in the portal and seeing so many people reporting that Sam Leavitt from Arizona State is likely to go into the portal and look for a step up from ASU, I would much rather go in that direction than Lenore Sellers. Lenore Sellers is a preternatural athlete. He is incredible. With all due respect, he doesn't process well enough and he's not accurate enough in the passing game. Like Cam Ward was accurate and had incredible talent, which you continue to see he is the Bugatti in the driveway in the hood right now with that Titans team. Like, he is incredible. And people forget, like, oh, he's really, 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 really talented. He had some things to clean up, but it's really nitpicking and fine-tuning were the things for Cam Ward. Need you to play on time and the structure of the offense more, as opposed to just freelancing and turning the ball over as much. And he cut the turnovers in half. It was actually less than half than what he had done. Lenore Sellers, you gotta rewire and reprogram his brain, bro. He doesn't see it. He can't make some of the throws. And I know that people are upset with Carson Beck and everything, and it has not been perfect. And there's been more turnovers than you would like to see in a similar kind of trajectory, like from Cam Ward, who had like 16 turnovers and then had 8 last year. You go from 14 already to 9 for Carson Beck. That's not the kind of growth that you want to see. And I get it. But Lenore Sellers, he can't see it in the passing game. And bro, like, I know that we lost the game at SMU. All those third down dig routes to Keelan Marion that Carson Beck was pinpoint accurate on, he had to have those 3rd and 13, a 14-yard square in, bang, and that ball is on the money. I don't know that actually, I'm pretty confident Lenore Sellers cannot do that in the passing game. So short story long, I agree with Leroy. I would prefer another option at quarterback for next year. I'm going to leave it there because I'm still formulating. I'm still thinking about how I'm thinking about quarterback for the Miami Hurricanes. It was a very metaphysical answer there at the end, but there you go.
Are you thinking about 2026 at quarterback, taking in the current quarterback room, or just simply assessing what's out there in the rest of college football?
I'm evaluating my process on how I view the talent acquisition and outlook at that position holistically for the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm reevaluating how I'm looking at that position in its entirety from top to bottom. I am leaning towards a slight change in the way that I've viewed that position to a new kind of outlook or paradigm. But I'm still percolating on that. I'm still thinking, I'm still reading, I'm still marinating on that. But yeah, that's what I feel comfortable sharing, because otherwise then I'm going to put out there even though I don't eat it myself, the banana nut bread is cooking it's baking in the oven. It's not ready for consumption yet. So that's where I am.
Has Lenore Sellers become a name that people are talking about because of South Carolina's poor season? Because people just are there's some kind of connection to Miami or a coaching staff or any type of connection? Is it a reasonable conclusion to make that there's something there, or just people grasping at best talent out there potentially?
A little bit of both, but it has been mentioned by national reporters and even local South Carolina people as like that could be a fit for next year, as in Sellers coming to Miami. Like I've seen it in plenty of other places, whether it's fans or actual, full-time journalists. So it's a little bit of both, putting that together. And everything. And then you had Matt Miller from ESPN, someone that I know and that I know, I've interacted with him for many, many years, and have spoken several times, he and I. He put out there that Miami was looking to break the bank and reset the marketplace in terms of what they're willing to spend for a quarterback next year. I don't know his sources, so I cannot confirm nor deny that. But then you put that together with so there was a little bit of, carry the one extrapolating the data of what Lenore Sellers is purported to be asking for moving forward with that report, and then the Levitt thing and things like that. So yeah, it has not been like we recruited him and da-da-da thing, but like there's been chatter on many levels relative to pretty much any name that could be available in the portal, but especially Lenore Sellers pretty much this entire season, even coming into this season, looking ahead to next year. And then recently with the Sam Levitt reports, which, his brother has refuted to Pete Nakos, because the brother posted their or text message chat. And he was like, Pete Nakos from On3, said, well, I'm reporting this. And the brother said, why would you report that? That's not where we are. He's still deciding what he wants to do relative to staying or going about his brother, Sam Levitt. So yeah, that's what I have seen, heard, and read.
So if you put together enough money, I guess nobody's completely off the table. But looking at top quarterbacks coming back next season, I would think the Michigan, Oregon, Ohio State quarterbacks are fairly untouchable. I would think
they're not going anywhere.
Ty Simpson at Alabama, he still has some eligibility left, I believe.
He does. And for him he's a fourth-year guy already?
Yeah.
And you're playing to the caliber that you are, even though coming off of a loss to Oklahoma, why would you be leaving? If anything, you run that back with a grudge match on your, on your heart. So, yeah, outside of if you wanted to list some more, I'm sorry I cut you off, but yeah, those are pretty much the ones.
Yeah, I went to the top of the board.
Right, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to have that conversation myself intelligently about people's eligibility, about players' eligibility. I know everybody's starting quarterbacks and roughly how good they are, but interesting.
I just will say, again, Miami, when in the portal, has always shopped from the top of the list. Whether that's De'Aaron King at the inception of the portal, whether that's Cameron Ward, which, number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Again, regardless of the, what you want to look back in retrospect now, Carson Beck in last year's portal, yeah. Top, maybe sure. He wasn't the number one, but he was in that top 2 to 3 group at a very minimum. You know what I mean? So Miami always shops from the top of the list at quarterback when we go into the portal, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Good stuff. I guess we will move on to the splash in recruiting and getting a flip from CU out there in Boulder, Colorado.
Yep. Great initials. Cam Underwood, Colorado University. See what I did there? See what I did there? Gavin Mueller from the outskirts of Chicago, my ancestral homeland, because both my parents are from Chicago, Wheaton, Illinois. My parents were from Chicago proper. He is from Wheaton, Illinois. And you are seeing a brand new update to his ranking. This is a guy who was a basketball player. He's 6'5.5", 255. So he's probably listed like 6'7" forward. Basketball, just transitioned, started playing football midway last year. This is his first or second full season. I think it was his first full season, but he's only been 1.5 seasons. This kid, if you look at these highlights, yo, buddy, this is another elite tight end. 247 just released their updated rankings. So you see he is the number 7 tight end in this class, top 124, previously unranked because he's new to football. Number 150 in the composite, number 7 tight end, number 4 in the state of Illinois on the composite. He also went up in the Rivals rankings, I do believe, as well. In addition, this kid can play seriously. So we've all been underwhelmed by the tight end performance this year. I'm just going to call it, like it is. Elijah Lofton, purported to be the best and most athletic and most dynamic player on offense, with all due respect, isn't. Because if he was, we would have seen it already. And I know that he's Brevin Jordan 2.0, but he's dollar store Brevin Jordan because he's 6'1" from Las Vegas, went to Bishop Gorman and wears number 9 and can play in multiple positions. But Brevin Jordan made impact in ways that, like, just with all due respect, Elijah Lofton doesn't. I know that Alex Bowman, he's a rotation guy. He's more of a blocker than a receiver. Then you got 2 very nice true freshman prospects in Luka Gilbert, the massive 6'8" tight end, and then Brock Schott, who I believe can play both ways. I might even like more on defensive end than tight end, but he's a very dynamic player from Leo, Indiana himself. And then you go back to the Midwest this year for Gavin Mueller. Yeah, this kid can hoop. I say that, well, realistically and metaphorically, but he's a basketball player turned football player. Congratulations to Dierks High School. Great with the ad that's up there and everything. But yeah, as you watch this film, he's at Wildcat quarterback here, running power read. That's through 1 tackle, that's through 2, and he's going to the apartments. You're not going to get, there's nobody in the screen, guys. You know what I mean? Like, he's attached there at the Y. Okay, we take a nice quick out route. Boom, run, stiff arm, cut back. He's not done because he scores on this play through 6 dudes. Like, this is a kid, again, Wildcat quarterback. Okay, cool. Power read, I keep it, and then, we're just going to go, all right, got an angle? No, you don't. See ya. Bye. And I know, and like, look at the size. He's running by dudes, wearing number 1 at tight end, bro. I mean, like, again, power read. Boom, there's a guy there. Get off me. Cut back. Doesn't really even slow down. You had an angle? No, you didn't. I'm very excited for this kid. I'm very excited for this kid. Again, jet sweep, read, keep it. Boom, we're up the sideline. Another cutback. Like, this kid, look at the way he moves. Bro, look at the change of direction. For a kid who's 6'6", 255, look at him chop it up. And then, the short area quickness on these. He at X receiver, you're not going to press him. Little Timmy, give me that. Mouse in the house, put it on the upper shelf, go touchdown. Again, you're going to get a zone read. Nope, we're just going to follow that running back. Green grass and opportunity. That's it. Through the heart of the defense, between the tackles. Bro, put him in, here in the slot again. Cool. Got a defender there. Off me. And I go score. Great blocking by that wide receiver there. This is the kind of athlete that we need to have at tight end. Again, a nice quick out route. Boom. You run into him. Nope. Angle. Nope. 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 Look at how he runs. I know that Wheaton, Illinois is not. Oh, Barrington. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything about that. That was a personal story. It didn't have anything to do with this. But and here you go. Just throw one up in the back of the end zone, and he catches it. But look at how he himself moves. It almost looks like he's in fast forward, ran over a dude, and I'm gone. And again, I know that this is not the highest grade of competition, but he pops on the film against this competition in a way that you expect for somebody of his athletic caliber to do. The thing that is consistent with all of these recent flips and there are many of them. Miami is prioritizing guys who perform on the field as seniors, right? So either the commits in the class, gone, split them. Nobody has, again, through the middle of the defense, 6'6", 260, basically. Just look at what he's doing. Again, foot in the ground, goes back the other way. Boom, 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 and then we get a touchdown. This kid can play, guys. And what I was saying is the commits in this class, they're verified and certified by what they've done as seniors. And the flips are guys that they've been recruiting, go out and hoop as seniors, and then they're prioritizing them double pass. Oh, Malachi Tony ain't the only one who can throw the open guys down the field. This is what I'm talking about. This is what a blue chip player looks like at this position. And he had all the way to the line that's 5 yards out of bounds. He blocked that guy out. You know what I mean? But then you also get a guy like Samorian Wingo, who went up 125 places in the rankings because he had an incredible senior year from St. Augustine. He's been committed in this class. And so that's a guy that Miami took and projected out his development. And it's not even just for like 2 or 3 years in the future. From when he committed before this season to what he did on the field as a senior, that has been prioritized. Look at him block all the way down the field, bro. And now they're going to basically be running and high-fiving because yes, absolutely. And then he's going to go through him and go score also. I think that's enough for the film. I think that they get the idea. But this is the kind of a guy who, good on Colorado for going into Chicago, the Chicagoland area, and getting him committed early. But it wasn't really going to last. The secret got out. It's the same thing with Milan Paris. Like, good on Iowa State for getting him early, but yeah, once you really start seeing, once you play as a senior and that film gets out there and the word of mouth, the people, this is what happens. The big boys come in and that's defensive end, go get that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of player that we should be recruiting. Really great. Another Chicagoland stud coming down south that adds on top of 5-star Marquise Lightfoot, that adds on top of 5-star Justin Scott from 2 years ago. And we continue to have a presence. I mean, I know it's not in the Chicagoland area, but Brock Schott from Leo, Indiana at tight end last year. Like, Miami stays up in the Midwest, getting the kind of athletes that we need to have on the roster. And Gavin Mueller is the latest one. So a great get for what's his name? Corey, the tight ends coach. Sheesh.
And 2 of the 3 flips last week were what? Kansas and Pennsylvania?
Penn State. Oh, yeah. Yes. Cody Woodill. So residents of, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Kansas. Like Penn State, Pitt, and Kansas commits. So we're going where we need to go and getting the guys I think that we need to get. Gavin Mueller being the latest one. So Miami has continued to do those kinds of things on the recruiting trail, flipping guys that they highly value, and I think that other people value also. And again, you saw the senior film. Like, he looks like an alien. And for somebody who is of the caliber of a Gavin Mueller compared to who he's playing, he should look like an alien. It should look like you just dropped this dude off from Mars or something. He's or he came down, with Superman from, another planet. It should look like that compared to who he's playing, and it does. And, I think that his athleticism is projectable going forward, like, in a very, very good way.
247 Sports now has Miami at number 10 in the 2026 rankings, 30 commits.
Yeah, dog. You only have the thing of, 105 on the roster total now? And I don't think that there's a yearly cap. Get it how you live, like, there's going to be people who leave off this roster. in the transfer portal. Don't ask. We're not going to do that now. So comments, keep it to yourself. Mark, don't ask me. I'm not going there right now. But there will be people who depart this roster, as they do from every roster, and we're going to keep loading on up, through recruiting and the transfer portal.
But you've already started a mental list of who those players may be.
No comment.
Whether that's because you would like them to leave or it just kind of makes sense for them to leave.
No comment.
All right. All right, folks, we got Virginia Tech, of course, straight ahead. The last line that I saw was 17.5. Seems pretty reasonable for Miami on the road. Of course, they had it all together against NC State. That was a game that I anticipated Miami winning big, but that big? No, I did not. I must admit, I took North Carolina State in the points. I seem to be hopping back and forth and guessing wrong on Miami's focus on these blowout type games, and I keep missing them back and forth. But I took NC State in the points. This is not a win to be taken lightly, even though NC State's not a really good football team. Good enough to beat Virginia, good enough to beat Georgia Tech. So on occasion, and I believe Duke as well.
Maybe. Yeah, but I think they did. And they dropped like almost 60. It was like 56-40 whatever against Georgia Tech. Like they had like 700, almost 800 yards. Yeah, they were doing things. They were doing numbers. And, we came out and hit them in the mouth. And that really took them out of the game right away. You get a stop and a score right off the top. You would love that to be a touchdown, not a field goal right away, on the first drive, but you'll take it. It's a quicker start than we had been having with, the offensive points on the first possession. And then you just roll from there. It was very clear that, there are light years between these teams. And I know CJ Bailey really wanted to come and put on a show in his homecoming return. And I know that he said all the right things in his media availability early in the week. This kid, when he came on the field for warmups, right? So not the early outs in the t-shirts and, in their sweatsuits, but like when they put the pads on and they come out for pregame warmups as a full team, he was jumping around like a kid on speed, bro. I mean, he's dapping everybody up. You see him pointing to his section because his whole family is there on their sideline. He's, pumping his his hands and everything. He's screaming at everybody. He's dapping everybody up super hard and whatnot. He said the right thing on, I'm not trying to prove anything to Miami. I got nothing to prove to them. It's just about me and my team and da-da-da. And then we smacked him in the mouth a lot. And it went very poorly for him. 17 for 30 for 120 yards, 4 yards of completion, 13.6 QBR with 2 interceptions, including 1 return for a tud and 2 more that were close and dropped, unfortunately. Yeah, this was a clinic, an absolute clinic and ass whipping by Miami's defense. Up front, we rotated guys. They couldn't block us. They couldn't do anything. If you scroll down a little bit, right there. The leading rusher in the ACC coming into this game was Hollywood Smothers. The leading rusher in conference. Mark, you and I, in our respective locations, ran for more yards than Hollywood Smothers did in this game. It was a clinic. Like, they dropped a couple of balls. Zach Poyser made a nice play to close down an open receiver. He got going a half step the wrong way towards the middle of the field, flipped his hips, and then got downhill to go break that up at the point of the catch, which was really great. But yeah, this was in all phases just an ass kicking of epic proportions. Miami ran the ball well. Shout out to Gerard Pringle in his first college start, 148, I believe, or something like that. Total yards, 116 on the ground and another 32 on 2 catches. Almost scored a couple of times on a couple of those plays. The running game just looked different with him in there. He just plays at a higher speed, a faster tempo. And, Shannon Dawson said it on Monday, and I agree. We went to this outside zone based scheme. It's like a Shanahan Broncos offense, like Daddy Shanahan, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And that outside zone series with Gerard Pringle just popped, bro. And it popped even where they fit it wrong and he bounced it outside because he has higher, gear than everybody else. It was a joy to see. And shout out to Mario Cristobal, who in his Monday presser said it would have been unprofessional for them as a staff to see what Pringle did the last week and not give him a starting opportunity this week. I mean, the kid was scout team MVP 2 weeks ago, him and Dalen Upshaw, and also game MVP for their position groups. You know what I mean? So he was like, dude, hey, we say if you show us in practice and then if you get the opportunity, you show and prove, then you will earn. It would have been unprofessional for us to put him on the bench. So we live our raps. We say show it and prove it, and you get the opportunity again, bang, you see it. So that was really, really great to see. Malachi Toney just continues to be Mr. Everything for this team. 5 catches for 54 and 2 tuds. Also had a 44 the completion to JoJo Trader this week. That was from Malachi Toney, who actually it was a post wheel concept on a trick play. The post was the actual first read, but NC State had that covered up. They were playing trail technique, and the safety was going over the top, which opened up the wheel route and to get dotted up with and everything. And yeah, it was really, really great. The only downfall, there were 2. Well, the only 2 bad plays, really. Malachi Toney had Gerard Pringle wide open on a wildcat kind of play on a HB leak to the flat. And he overthrew it. He was just he had adrenaline. Boom, he sailed that. And then Luke Nickel, when he came in and we were feeding Nye Carr on the final drive of the game, his first play, Luke Nickel, we called a slant and go for Nye Carr, and he was open by 15 yards. And Luke threw it late and about 20 yards too short, which was unfortunate because that should have been a walk-in touchdown for Nye Carr. But it is what it is. But yeah, I said that this was going to be, last week or 2 weeks ago against Syracuse, I equated that to the Stanford game because those are 2 of the worst teams in captivity. It was that. I was expecting Miami, to win and barely cover. But when I saw the futility of the offense early, I was like, oh, this is boat race central. Like, this is real bad. And that was before even the Jacoby Thomas pick 6. So, we did everything that we needed to do to get the win and move on. There's one thing before we get to our esteemed guest, my good friend, Michael McDaniel, that I want to talk about, and that is the path for Miami to get to the ACC championship game, because Truth Over Falsehood did come in here and ask. I don't know if you're still in the comments saying more down low. I'm just looking at the first comment because I didn't scroll down, but I will throw this up here. And Paulo, I saw yours. I'm going to get to yours also really quick. I know Mike is listening, but we're going to get there. So I'm going to go here. What are the scenarios for Miami to make the ACC championship game? There's lots of different things. I did the math. I wrote it already this week. We're going to check it out really quickly. It's up on stateoftheu.com, a wonderful website. So there are 3 scenarios really, but there's also a scenario where we can get eliminated. So the elimination scenario is Georgia Tech beats Pitt and Virginia even on a bye if Duke loses and SMU loses. So if you get those 3 results, because the second line is the same, losses by Duke, Pittsburgh, and SMU, that locks in Georgia Tech, Virginia in the ACC championship game, regardless of anything else that happens in week 14. So that's the bad side of things. That is true, confirmed, verified. For Miami, scroll past that, boom. It comes down to this. Miami has to win out. Duke beats Carolina, Pitt beats Georgia Tech, Louisville beats SMU, and then next week, SMU over Cal, Wake over Duke, boom, you win tiebreakers. And again, this is up on stateofview.com. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. Other one, same kind of a thing. This week, Duke beats Carolina, Pitt beats Georgia Tech, SMU beats Louisville. Next week, Cal beats SMU and Wake beats Duke. Boom, you get that. The long shot is some other stuff. Boom, whatever. I'm going to scroll down to this for what we need from each team. This right here. Georgia Tech has to lose to Pitt. Full stop. End of the story. If Georgia Tech beats Pitt, there is no path for Miami. There's no combination of other results for Miami to make the ACC championship game because of tiebreakers and everything else. So you are the biggest Pittsburgh fans ever of life this week. They must beat Georgia Tech. And then some of the other stuff. But that is the one immutable truth. They have to beat Georgia Tech, period. And then there's more than that. So I see you with all of those things. I urge you to go to stateoftheview.com to evaluate that. I stayed up really late and I did all the permutations for that. And I saw the question. I'll answer the question, or I did answer the question. And then, Paulo, I did talk about Sam Leavitt. Where did it go? Top 3 underrated pipeline states for Miami. I would say Nevada because of Bishop Gorman, Chicago because we've been there so much, and then like New Jersey because South Florida is tropical New Jersey anyway, so we go up there and get some players for that. And then Falconer, NC State, top 10 in my book, Saturday in players swoop. NC State, top 10 in my... saying that they're a top 10 team, so that should really count for Miami moving up in the rankings, which we didn't even get to. But yes, I would have put them in the top 10 in my personal rankings also. With that blowout, that would have been great and advantageous. Cool. Done with all of those. I'm going to come back to some more chats later. I'm probably going to stay on here after Mark gets off because I know that we got the Florida State show later, and just like we did a couple weeks ago. But I'm going to shut myself up because my good personal friend, Michael McDaniel, has been waiting with patience to talk about this week's game between his Hokies and my Hurricanes. And I want to value his time and bring him on here. Super friend.
Absolutely. And let me say one thing real quick. Sometimes these tiebreakers seem a little counterintuitive because sometimes people would be out there thinking, okay, well, if Pitt beats Georgia Tech, wouldn't that set up a situation in which Miami then plays Pitt and they beat Pitt and they would have the tiebreaker against Pitt and they both have 2 losses? Well, the combination of multiple teams tying for positions for first place, second place creates a different set of tiebreakers. So if you look through the tiebreaker situation, some things seem counterintuitive, like why would we want Virginia Tech or Virginia to beat Virginia Tech? That doesn't make any sense because you want Virginia to be out of the way. No, creates different tiebreaker scenarios with different teams involved. And so that's what that's all about.
Exactly. And like it changed in that long shot scenario. The permutation of results this week changes based upon that projection and everything. So like it all fits together, and especially because there are likely to be more than 2 teams at 6-2 in like however it falls. It's really likely there's going to be 3 or more teams. You want that, and you need one of those teams not to be Duke because Duke would hold the tiebreaker over Miami versus with common opponents. So like you need, it's up on stateoftheview.com. Go read it, please. And we just gave you about 8 minutes on that. So great. Boom, done.
And if Cam has been joining us here at the Voice of College Football, and me personally, as long as anyone or longer than anyone, then Mike McDaniel would certainly be like in the top 3 or 4 of that list. So Mike and I go way back in terms of him contributing here at the Voice of College Football when we did not even call it the Voice of College Football. So Mike, we appreciate you being here. You can catch Mike's work at SI and of course, the always aptly named Basketball Conference Podcast. If I got that correct.
Nailed it.
Mike,
nailed it. Yeah, it's good to be on. Mark, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. How you been?
Glad to be back. Good.
Yeah,
excellent.
Longest email address in the world, Basketball Conference.
Yeah, man.
Wait, Basketball Conference Podcast?
At gmail.com. Yep.
Nailed it. There we go.
Man. Normally, Mike, we would have you on at this point in the season, and I don't even know. I always take pride in knowing everybody's record in college football, but I'm guessing Virginia Tech is 3-7.
That's right.
Okay,
that's
got
right.
3-7. That normally it'd be like, okay, 3-7. What are we going to do in recruiting? What are we going to do in the portal? But you got a new head coach, so there's hope.
Yeah, there's
What's your
hope.
take on James Franklin coming to Blacksburg?
This is probably the best they could have possibly done. This is something that they would have never been able to do this, if they hadn't had the administration take a hard look at the football program and the issues they've had over the last decade and take a hard look at it. And in this new era, say, okay, we're going to commit all of our attention to football. We're going to put our best foot forward from a funding standpoint. We are going to, supercharge the NIL and the recruiting efforts in this new revenue sharing era. They really put themselves in an advantageous position at the right time, right? And when they fired Brent Pry back in September, they had already kind of laid the groundwork for this administrative push in terms of, pushing more funds into the athletic department and, essentially becoming more serious, not only for the sake of football, but for the sake of, men's and women's basketball. We know that college football is the driver of revenue. That was all set in motion before the season started. When they fired Brent Pry after 3 weeks, when they got blown off the field against Old Dominion, I don't think that obviously they could have ever envisioned having James Franklin as their head coach sitting here 2 months later. It's unbelievable how the circumstances unfolded. Obviously, Penn State falling apart the way that they did after that crazy double overtime Oregon loss, and to then falter the following week against UCLA. And then you have Drew Aller get hurt late in that Northwestern. They weren't looking good against Northwestern anyway, but he gets hurt late in that Northwestern game. Then you were really in for it. I was surprised, a little bit surprised Penn State pulled the trigger in season. I wasn't shocked they moved on from Franklin, but I was surprised they did that in season. And they ate the buyout. Now they're in this weird kind of coaching search mode. And I am even more surprised that Virginia Tech found a way to pull this off. This was a search that has gone on in earnest with Franklin basically about a week or so after he was let go at Penn State. Virginia Tech first engaged with him. There was clear initial interest, but a lot of dominoes kind of had yet to fall. Jimmy Sexton is his agent. So obviously this was going to be a situation where Sexton was going to try to see what Franklin's market was, engage that market, wasn't going to sign on with Virginia Tech really early, but it was clear there was some interest there. And it made a lot of sense, right? Like James Franklin has recruited the DMV extremely well, has ties to Virginia in terms of his recruiting. He's done very, very well in state, which is really important to Virginia Tech. He's recruited, the DC metro area, DC, Maryland, Virginia, pulled a ton of prospects out of there in recent years and has really gotten some of the top prospects in the state of Virginia on his Penn State rosters. And that's been a really big part of what he does. So the fit made a lot of sense. It was really going to be a matter of, was Virginia Tech going to be able to meet the demands, not in terms of just his overall salary, but in terms of what he needed to build the roster out from an NIL standpoint. And then from that combined with revenue sharing, can you put together a roster that is competitive the way that James Franklin needs it to be and expects it to be? And they were able to do that at Penn State. So that was a big part of the Virginia Tech question is, okay, you're pushing all this, you're pushing all your chips into the middle of the table in terms of funding your football program, but how serious are you going to be? And when you hire somebody like James Franklin, the expectation is that he's not taking the job unless he knows you're serious about that. So really kind of the hang up with negotiations, it went on for a while. The last 2 weeks, it got really, really intense in terms of, Virginia Tech obviously had him singled out as like the top option. But it got to the point where it was like, okay, he's the top option. Is he going to take this job? And it really came down to NIL. And Virginia Tech was in a position where they felt like they could fund it. Franklin wanted, I heard, around $15 million in NIL for next year's roster, just NIL. And you had the revenue sharing piece. They want to put together around a $25 million roster for next season, which for Virginia Tech would be a pretty significant step forward compared to what they put together recently. And I think you need that for a guy like Franklin, who is used to recruiting with kind of that kind of money in tow. So that was really important. They got it done. It was really, really impressive. I wasn't expecting them to be able to finish the deal just because I'm a Virginia Tech alum. I've watched this team forever post Beamer, just try to get the coaching search right. And I thought they got it right with Fuente. Obviously they didn't. And then the whole Pry thing just didn't work out. But yeah, I'm very surprised they pulled it off.
Nice. It'll be interesting to see, obviously, going up against Franklin, or, him trying to come up against Miami and Mario, as you guys are going and everything. But yeah, speaking of going up against Miami and Mario, why should I believe that this is not going to be a blowout for Miami this week? I mean, respectfully, yeah, because there have been some lopsided results against other teams with less talent and who are not playing at the kind of clip that Miami is presently. Is it reasonable? Do you reasonably think that this game is going to be competitive, close or close? I'll leave it open.
In my opinion, the only way that this game is close is if Miami lets it be close. Virginia Tech really, they can't throw. It's been an issue. It's been a problem. They cannot move the football through the air. They're running the ball quite well. Even a week ago, they ran it pretty well against Florida State. They are running the ball well, having some pretty good success there from an advanced analytics standpoint, et cetera, et cetera. They are running the football well. The issue is that when they're in position where they have to throw, they fall behind, what have you. They can't do it. I mean, Kyron Drones just hasn't had it. The receivers haven't been able to get open. The pass protection on the offensive line just has not been there consistently all season. So I think Virginia, this is going to be kind of the same. I think the same formula in terms of, I do think Miami's going to win the game pretty comfortably. I think it's going to be a pretty similar formula to what it's been for Virginia Tech. Tech's defense will keep them in it early. They'll play hard. Miami's going to have to come ready to play. Miami's a much better team. Hokies won't roll over, especially Saturday. There's a lot of hype and intensity around this game now. It's turning into a pretty big recruiting weekend for Franklin. He's trying to flip a bunch of guys from Penn State. So the official visit list is growing to be quite extensive for this weekend's game. So it's going to be a pretty good atmosphere at Lane, which they've done a pretty good job packing Lane out even in a really disappointing year, which is just it's a testament to fan base support and the fan support the Tech's always had. But it's going to be kind of the similar formula. I think Tech's defense can keep them in early. The offense, they're going to have to move the ball on the ground. If they don't, then they're going to have to hit some chunk plays through the air, which has been very hit or miss. And if they don't do that, the defense is going to get tired and the dam's going to break. I mean, that's kind of been the recipe all year long. That's basically what happened last week against Florida State. Tech was in it early. Florida State hit a few chunk plays. Tech's offense couldn't respond, and that was pretty much all she wrote. So that's kind of how I expect this to go. I think Miami's obviously playing for something here pretty significant. They have a lot left to play for. Virginia Tech, essentially the last 2 weeks of their season, just trying to play spoiler. So they haven't quit. They've played hard under Montgomery as the interim. I expect that to continue. But yeah, Miami's a much more talented team here. I don't expect them to have too much trouble unless they, fumble around and
make it for ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, okay. I hear you. RX in the chat says, with thinking like that, Miami can lose. I don't play. So I can think what I want to think. It's incumbent upon the players in the program and the coaches to do their job. It's not my fault for expecting to beat Louisville that Carson Beck threw four interceptions. You know what I mean? So I think that that's very overwrought of thinking that the better team should be the better team. Yeah. Do you expect Franklin to be introduced, to do the halftime, thing and speech? You see coaches when they get hired at basketball games, and then they go at halftime and they're, rah, 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 sis, boom, bah, and everything. Y'all are going to do that during this game for Franklin.
Yeah. So I'm sure they'll do something with Franklin during this game. So he was formally introduced today, and Tech's actually playing. The men's basketball team's playing right now. They're actually about to go into halftime, and at halftime he's going to be introduced in front of the students that are there at the game.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, they're at least going to do that. I'd imagine that, he said he was going to be at the game Saturday, obviously the official visit weekend. He said he's trying to stay out of the way out of respect for the current players and Philip Montgomery. He said all the right stuff at the press conference, but he'll be at the stadium on Saturday for sure.
Gotcha. You mentioned them a couple of times here. Talk to me about the Tech defense. How's who should we know? What are you guys good at? Like, how do you anticipate them trying to deploy themselves against Miami's offense? Like, what are you actually? Sorry, stop, pause, file that one. We're going to come back to that. Everybody in the world empties the playbook against Miami. Y'all did it last year. I'm expecting it this week. What new offensive wrinkles are you going to have with Kyron Jones and or anybody on the team this week? It's coming. You know it.
Yeah, they'll try some stuff, I think. Yeah, they haven't really. I mean, post Montgomery, I wouldn't say they've emptied the playbook in terms of like trick plays, but the one thing they have done is they have tried to air it out a lot more than I want them to. So like you'll see some shots on first down for sure. I think that's where you're going to see like the plays at least try to be made offensively. Is okay. It seems like a very obvious running down. They're going to take a shot downfield. That's just kind of what they've been doing. The trick play stuff, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if they're feeling frisky. If they're having some success offensively early, maybe they try steal a possession, onside kick, that sort of thing. That wouldn't shock me. But yeah, they'll probably try to pull off all the stops. That I have a feeling they're going to try to save a little something for Virginia because I think they'd love to.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
They'd love to knock Virginia out of ACC title contention next week. I think that's they may save some stuff for that one.
Shoot, if Pitt finds a way to beat Georgia Tech, I would love that also because those two, results combined would bode very well for Miami. Depending on other results as well. Cool. Yep. Let's turn it back to the defense. I already asked you. So how do you think that they're going to attack Miami's offense? Who are some players to know? I haven't really kept up with, Tech so much this year.
Yeah. So I mean, defensively, they've been rotating a lot of guys. I mean, the one player to know that I think is probably going to be a carryover for next year's roster, Caleb Woodson, linebacker. He's a pretty solid player. He's been in and out of the lineup due to injury. I think early on the expectation was that he was going to like redshirt and opt out, but he was actually kind of banged up. So when Pry got fired, it was like, all right, is he gonna leave? Like, are all these guys gonna check out? But Virginia Tech's done a pretty good job trying to keep the roster together. I mean, Tech secondary it's a lot of transfers, and it's been pretty transfer heavy in the secondary. Isaiah Cash is a pretty good safety. He's had a pretty good year overall. Tech's rotating a bunch of guys up front. A lot of young guys have been getting some playing time the last few weeks, but Caleb Woodson's the guy to know. And then
Caleb Spencer, former Miami player.
Caleb Spencer's had a pretty good year too. But yeah, it's really all about the secondary. Isaiah Cash, Isaiah Brown Murray, like those are the guys to keep an eye on. And then if you're looking for a younger player, Noah Chambers, he's a freshman linebacker. He's more towards the bottom of the screen there, number 10. He's had a couple moments where he's really flashed and you can see the potential, and he's found his way into the rotation there at linebacker. And he's had a pretty decent second half of the season because he's been getting a bit more playing time post Pry. So yeah, he's coming into his own a little bit.
No, I love that. All right. What questions do you have for me, Mike? I know that you talk about Miami every week, and I'm in the chat usually as you do, but what you got?
How I guess this is more of a personal question for you. I don't want you to have to go on a playoff rant, but how frustrated have you been with, I guess, Miami's placement in the rankings for the last 3 weeks? Because I think they were pretty underrated in week 1. I thought and you've heard this take already, Cam, on my podcast, but I thought that the committee tried to essentially like right a wrong in the second week of the rankings, and they did that under the guise of Virginia and Louisville losing, which I think helped, but jumping Georgia Tech for essentially no reason was odd. I thought they should have been probably ranked ahead of Georgia Tech anyway, personally, but you jump Georgia Tech on a bye week for essentially no reason. And then you're like the top ranked ACC team with no true path. Like it's got to be a bunch of tiebreakers to get to Charlotte, no true path. So then you're just a talking point in the media for a couple of weeks. I don't get it with, I can do a whole committee rant. I've been really frustrated with the rankings.
Yeah. Also, it's farcical on its face from inception to now. Like none of the evaluation of Miami has been on the merits of the games played on the field.
Yep.
And it is patently counterintuitive.
Yep.
Everything that's been said by whomever they put up there, because I know that there's been 2 different chairs of the committee and everything. This week was as bad as the last 2 combined for Juracek replacing Rhodes in that. And it was so horrible and nonsensical. I mean, and it is what it is. Like, everybody wants to hate on Miami, and we gave them the opportunity by losing games that we should not have. But at no point ever should Miami have been behind Notre Dame to this day, let alone by the margins that they're talking about. And then they come in and say, well, no, they're not in the same kind of competitive pool. What? They played. And then to say, well, Notre Dame's losses are better because they're losses to 2 teams in the top 13. Who are the teams then? Because one of them, I'm going to stop. But you understand, that's where I am with it. It is so ridiculous. And yeah, it's farcical on its face. Miami is still way underranked. We've been underranked by 5 or 6 spots every single week, this week inclusive, because there, again, is no reason that, and what they're doing now is it's like, I don't know, it's like a board game. It's like Chutes and Ladders, where you hit a thing and you got to go all the way back to the start. And it's like, well, no, that's not what that thing said. It's like, well, just go from start anyway, while we're already most of the way towards the end of the game. And then you roll a 6. Well, you can actually only go forward 2 spots. But I rolled a 6. So no, just 1 or 2 spots. It's just, we're going to do something different with the rules and everything now. Like, what are we doing? And by placing Utah, they are the ones who craft everything. And they're saying, well, they're not close enough in the rankings to be considered. You're the ones who set the rankings. What are you talking about?
I don't
you know
understand.
what I mean? Like, you are the ones who set the parameters and then say, well, they're not within the parameters. You're the freaking ones. And then you stick a Utah team who should not be ahead of Miami also as well, in addition, by the way, but you stick them there as a red coat from Star Trek, as just, a body of, a meat shield, so that you have the separation. And like, why is Miami not in the top 13 or top 12 consideration? Why? Because you don't want them to, I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to get worked up. That I hate it so much. And it is just, it's intentional against Miami because it's exclusive to Miami in every instance of head-to-head, because they put Oklahoma in front of Alabama, who they beat head-to-head with the same record now, which is what it should be. But then Miami and Notre Dame head-to-head with the same record are not in the same kind of competitive pool. Like, I'm going to stop. But
can I take over real quick? Because I can actually state it with a cool head.
Please do.
Notre Dame is not playing the type schedule, and Mike, you're as familiar with Notre Dame football as anybody, of course, is not playing the type of schedules that we used to see Notre Dame play before the ACC contract, where they used to be arguably the toughest schedules in the country every year. Their schedule, even if you just thought, okay, that Miami Notre Dame game didn't happen, or we're going to excuse because CJ Carr, it was his first start, or was on the road, it was a walk-off field goal. I didn't watch the game. I did watch the game, but I'm saying somebody didn't watch the game. They just saw it was a walk-off field goal. It was that close. It really wasn't that close. Miami was a far better team on that night.
But this is what's being relitigated now because the scoreboard only looked like it did, which is why I was so mad about leaving points on the field back in August, because I said that there's an opportunity for this to come to pass. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
But yes, the just oxymoronic reasoning of, well, we're not even comparing Miami and Notre Dame because they're in these mystic separate pools of teams. It's like, you created those.
You made these rankings. Yeah, you made these rankings. I don't really get it either. And it does seem like I'll tell you what I don't understand. The Notre Dame thing I can get to in 1 second. the Utah rank. I don't get the Utah thing at like who is Utah beating? And then Utah's losses don't look good. I don't get it. I don't get the Utah thing at all.
Less than nobody, and again, they're just a meat shield to keep the separation, because otherwise, then all of their logic that they say is unraveled. But then you want to talk about Virginia's strength of schedule and strength of record has been negatively impacted by Louisville losing games, and then turning around and saying, what was the other one? What was the comparable? Oh, Indiana gets full credit for the Penn State win. Or, no, Oregon gets full credit for the Penn State win, even though they've fallen off. You just said the same. Bro. So, again, it's
been a moving target. Moving target. Sliding scale.
No, it's not even a sliding scale.
About.
It's literally up is down and down is up. Because for this team, that counts. For this team, the same thing does not count. And so, like, now there's another team that is the recipient of the imbalanced paradigm, or just the shenanigans of the committee, on top of Miami. So like Virginia with their ranking falling down and everything. And then they keep saying, oh, Miami lost to two unranked teams. Unranked in the college football playoff top 25, and they're both 7-3. And when one of them beats the other this week, because Louisville and SMU play, they're going to keep the winner of that game unranked. So now they're going to be able to say that still, so a team at 8-3 in this conference, even with a win over Miami, boosting their record, is going to be unranked in the top 25. So the committee can keep saying that, so that it just, I'm done.
I think so. So I think Notre Dame's one of the 12 best teams, right? The reason why I think that, though, is because I think Miami's one of the 12 best teams. So I look at the two losses. I look at their two losses, right? I see the loss to I see Notre Dame's loss to Miami. I see Notre Dame's loss to A&M. It's combined 4 points, and I look at that and I'm like, okay, those are obviously two very good losses. And then Notre Dame has rolled over most of their schedule, right? They looked a little sloppy against Boise State, and they looked a little sloppy against Boston College. Otherwise, they've rolled over their schedule, which is what you would expect a team of that caliber to do against, like we mentioned, a schedule that has not been as difficult because of who you're playing in the ACC, especially in this particular year.
And Arkansas from the SEC, who's one of the worst teams in captivity and winless in that conference. So you add another bottom-feeding team, and again, you cannot say, well, the quality of their losses is better than the quality of Miami's losses, and not continue that string and say, and one of those losses is to this team, and so that's why they're above Notre Dame.
And I think Notre Dame's getting more credit. This is the biggest issue with the rankings that I have, and it's been this way for a few different teams, but Notre Dame Miami has been the most prominent one. Notre Dame's getting more credit for losing to Miami than Miami's getting credit for beating Notre Dame.
Bingo.
And I think that's crazy. I think that's insane.
Yeah. And it's just
and it's the same thing same thing with Alabama, right? So Alabama loses to Florida State, right? In the opener. Obviously, that's looking like a very, 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 very bad loss, right? And then Alabama loses to a good Oklahoma team last weekend, a good Oklahoma team they lose to, and Notre Dame jumps them. And I'm trying to figure out why Notre Dame. Now, if Notre Dame and Alabama play on neutral field, like, okay, probably, I'd coin flip that game. I think that'd be a pretty competitive game.
Sure.
Fine. But I don't understand why Notre Dame's resume is good enough to jump Alabama. Really, they're arguing that Notre Dame's two losses are better, but Alabama also has several better wins than Notre Dame does. So I don't understand that piece of it either. That's kind of like a recency bias thing where one team's trending up. The reason why Notre Dame's trending up is they're rolling everybody they play. They're playing a different schedule, right? And do I think Notre Dame can get
Alabama
into a competitive game?
Yeah, Alabama's like Utah, where they're just there to keep separation between Miami and Notre Dame and nothing else. Because, reasonably, I think that they should that should be inverted between them. It should be Oklahoma, Alabama, Notre Dame in that. I mean, of the current rankings, but not even with that.
Yep.
And it's something that I'm so very angry. Last year, it was all about quality of wins, and they kept saying it. Who did you beat? Who did you beat? Did you play these teams and beat them? This year, they're talking about quality of losses and completely ignoring the wins. Like, It's just this committee flies by the seat of their pants. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is all logical fallacies put together because they're selecting who they want, and then they're retconning the rankings to put that together, which, is their right in Providence, but it's bullshit. The last thing that I'll say is I said it before Miami even lost when Notre Dame was 0-2. Talking on here hypothetically, I said if Notre Dame ends the year 10-2 with a loss to Miami, and Miami ends the year 10-2, 6-2 in the ACC, and doesn't make the ACC championship game again, we're going to be at home in the college football playoff, because even though they do not use prior precedents for placement or in any other way, I guarantee you 10-2, 6-2 in conference, and not going to Charlotte for Miami means we're going to be sitting at home during the college football playoff. I want to be wrong. I really, really do. I don't think that I am. And I think that this is the slow march to our impending doom, regardless of what happens on the field. Because even though they have said and put it together with the direct analog to Oklahoma, Alabama from this previous week, even when we get to the end of the season at 10-2, because I'm speaking it into existence, whoever is the spokesman for the committee is going to come in front of God and everybody and say, that was Oklahoma and Alabama. That has no bearing on this. We're putting Notre Dame in. Miami, tough shit. Go cry. And maybe that's towards the ACC commissioner, you even have the Big 12 commissioner, who is doing a better job politicking for their teams, including Utah, in their placements than the ACC is, because we have this passive thing that they put up every Tuesday afternoon about, look at Miami, and they put in some screenshots of some people that are like, if you are a league commissioner, it is incumbent upon you to be in front of them and to be pushing for the University of Miami. They don't give a shit. And we're going to sit here in a couple of weeks at 10-2, and they're going to be 10-2, and then it's going to be, okay, well, these are the rankings, these are the seedings. It came down to whatever we wanted it to be, but we did not consider the head-to-head between Notre Dame and Miami, and no one in that room is mentioning Alabama losing to Florida State, a terrible team who, they're terrible. They might miss they're probably going to make a bowl, but they're a borderline bowl team, at the bottom of the list. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody cares about it. We're going to sit here and I'm going to lose my freaking mind, because I have a feeling deep in the depths of my soul that they're going to do the exact same thing as last year. And all of the things that they said that kept Miami out last year that have been changed, fixed, and adjusted because of who we played and who we beat are not going to mean anything. Mark my words.
As I need to run to talk about that horrible, disgusting team that can barely make a bowl game in Florida State right now, I'll read you what I've got. These are my rankings, which obviously mean absolutely nothing, but I'll start at number 6, because that's where it starts to get a little tricky. I've got Oklahoma 6, Oregon 7, Bama 8, Vandy 9, Texas Tech 10, Miami 11, Notre Dame 12, USC 13, BYU 14, Utah 15. That's how I've got them ordered.
Utah at 15. That's better placement.
It's still too low for Miami, but more towards where I think is appropriate. But it is what it is. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
Thanks for being here.
I'm going to stick on for a little bit because I know there's some questions in the chat that I want to get to. Are you going to stick around, or are you going to? Are there anything else you want to talk about after you sit on that rant?
The only final thing I want to mention is, and it's in regard to the last piece of your rant.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I'm not saying this because I'm on a Miami show. I've been consistent. You know this. I've been consistent with this just for the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to the basketball conference every week. Like, Mike is not just crafting a narrative since he's here. Trust me.
It would be crazy. And I agree with you, by the way, unfortunately. But it would be crazy if Notre Dame made the playoff at 10-2 and Miami did not. They're either both in or Miami's in.
Straight period. Like that. Like, I mean,
period.
I don't know what else to say. Like, it's again, like, again, we talk about not being in the same competitive pools and everything. We were in the same competitive pool at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida on August 31st. Yeah. We saw, and I know I tweeted it out also today or yesterday, last night, and said, when, and I hate to call the player's name, but it was him. When Mo Toure blew that coverage and let their tight end go for 65 yards, and then they scored late to make it a closer game, right, before they got a field goal to tie it, that was like, that single play has had such an outsized impact on this season, because just like what Mark was saying earlier, if you go and just pull up the score and you see 29-26, oh, that was a close game and these teams are even, we whipped their ass up and down the field all day long, and then like you get a scramble touchdown and Jacoby Thomas came up off of his receiver in the end zone because you miss a sack, and then he's scrambling around for 7 seconds. You're like, okay, he's going to run. Let me go make a hit. And then there's a receiver who pops open behind you. That's one touchdown. And then the other touchdown was, again, you blow a coverage there. You leave a tight end all by himself at 65 yards. Boom. Like those, it was not a close game. It really wasn't. But on the scoreboard for all of perpetuity, it's going to look like it was a close game, and it was not. And like, it just, it's very frustrating. But
can you pull up the second to last comment here in the live chat for me?
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have no problems with Notre Dame, really solid program. This has nothing to do with Notre Dame. Like I mentioned, this is from a caliber of football program standpoint. I think Notre Dame's very good.
Oh yeah.
My issue, this is a resume issue and a evaluation issue from the committee. That's what this is. This isn't a caliber of team thing where it's like, I think Miami's far and away better than Notre Dame. That's why they should be in the playoff. No, it's they beat Notre Dame head to head. They're both gonna end. Well, Notre Dame's, I think, barring like a meteor striking, they're going to be like 70-point favorites combined over the next 2 weeks. I got Syracuse and Stanford.
Two of the worst teams in captivity. So on top of Boston College, on top of Arkansas.
The last I checked a day or two ago, and I got checked for the podcast tonight, Cam. They're a 35. I think they're a 35-point favorite against Syracuse. So, I mean, this is barring something catastrophic. Notre Dame's going to finish the year 10-2, right? And then we'll see what Miami does here the next 2 weeks. Obviously, a little bit tougher schedule than Notre Dame down the stretch.
35.5 right now. I just looked.
Right. 35.5 there, yeah. Yeah, be careful of that hook,
Hey, man, the hook will get you. Like, when I picked Miami over Syracuse 2 weeks ago, when I looked, it was 27.5. Mm-hmm. Joey wrote me down for 28.5 because that's what it was at the show. And then, I lose by the hook. But I'm like, no, I won by the hook, but based on whenever you catch it. So one of those kind of things. Yeah, it is really frustrating and whatnot. But, all of the hypotheticals and everything, just to round us out, are incumbent upon Miami handling the business in Blacksburg on Saturday. Yep. I expect that to be the case. Regardless of what the chat is saying, like me expecting them to, like you just said, you expect Miami to win. So I'm not crazy for also expecting Miami to win. It's just that, whatever, that reticence that people have to step into greatness and glory and just say, okay, we're going to do this kind of a thing. We just need to go do it, and then everything else.
Miami's much better than the team that Virginia Tech saw a week ago on the road in Tallahassee, Florida State. Much better team, and that's been proven out on the field as well. Just while we're at it, that's been also proven out on the field. So yeah, I mean, I expect Virginia Tech. I think Virginia Tech will be competitive early, and I think they'll play hard and be in the game. I don't think it's going to be like it's 42-0 at halftime or something. I think Tech will be in the game. I think Miami leads at halftime by, maybe like 7 to 10 points. I think the pull win the second half. That's been the recipe against Virginia Tech all year. So, yeah, I think Miami wins and covers. No real issues. So, anyway,
Nice. Well,
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I hope that definitely is the case. Mike, always great to have you. If you're not already, be sure you check out him and our other good friend, one of the super friends, Joey Weaver, on the Basketball Conference podcast, where I'm usually in the chat and everything. So when they say, hey, Cam, that's to me. But yeah, hey, Mike, good to see you, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man.
Anytime, bro. I'll talk to you.
Later. Yep.
All right. That was Mike McDaniel from Sports Illustrated and the Basketball Conference podcast. And I'm going to speed run through some of your comments and questions before we get out of here. I know we went a little bit long, but I appreciate you all rocking with me. You Goldwire has a question. Should Miami cancel the game next year against Notre Dame if they don't get into the playoff? If Miami does not get into the playoff this year and Notre Dame does, that's outside of our purview. That's actually a agreement with the conference that Notre Dame will play certain teams or a certain number of games against conference ACC teams every single year, and those are selected by the conference. So we do not have the autonomy to cancel that. Sorry to tell you, I don't know anything past that. RX saying Florida beat Texas. Nobody wants to talk about that, but that's a team that Miami dog walked and Texas lost to. But yeah, let me go back and see, are there any other things in the chat that I want to bring up? I already talked about Sam Levitt earlier, so I'm not going to talk about that. True or falsehood, Darren Coleman or Jaron Chiave Sagapulitele from Cal, the quarterback. If I had to choose, JKS, please. That kid can ball. And I'm not saying that Darion Coleman cannot, but we've already seen JKS. You got the acronym wrong. But yeah, JKS, I would take him right now for next year. Thing about it is, I don't think that he's leaving from out there because he is from the West Coast. He was committed to Cal. He flipped to Oregon, went there as early enrollee and was like, nah, I'm going to Cal. Hopped right in the portal, boom, back down. So I don't think that he's coming over here to Miami or anything like that. Also, there's the issue with adjusting the offense for a left-handed quarterback as opposed to a right-handed quarterback. Me, myself, personally, I don't really care, but it's the thing that I know several people do detest, so I wanted to bring that up. Falconer TRX says that he was a total fanboy at the NC State game. He got to sit in a former player's suite, sat next to Edgerrin James and Rohan Marley, who was there, and everything doing it. Rohan Marley is the only Marley who cannot sing, and they, of course, brought him on the field to sing. He's Bob Marley's son, if anybody didn't know that. They brought him out on the field to sing Three Little Birds, and it was both out of tune and in the wrong time. And so he kind of had to wait for the stands to lead him in the right direction musically, which was interesting for me as a, singer and a trained musician. Also got to meet Benny Blades and Will Mallory. That is a nice day at the stadium, and it was a blowout win. Robert Moffat, Miami falls 7 spots from 2 to 9 with the loss on the road, then compared to Bam at home, only dropped 6 spots from 4 to 10. That's not as bad, I don't think, as you're making it out to be. Also, I think that there's more volatility earlier when teams have fewer losses than when Miami lost their first game, especially in the way that we lost it to Louisville with just looking atrocious and throwing them the ball all the time. I mean, it's one spot difference and many weeks, in the timeline. So I think that's pretty analogous. I think that's very, very similar. So I don't have a problem with that, Rob. Still scrolling. Why does Miami have to win or make it to the conference championship game when other teams, i.e. Oregon or Oklahoma, don't? Because they hate Miami. And I think that that's provably true by what we are seeing happen. Yeah. Demetrius Adams, I saw you in the chat. Yep, saying what's up. Appreciate it. Miami Mama's boy also. Okay. Kinsonian Institute. There we go. And why in the world are Tennessee and Missouri still ranked? Because of SEC bias. You know as well as I do, my friend. Talking about questionable coaching for Miami. Questionable coaching didn't throw Louisville the ball 4 times. Questionable coaching against Louisville didn't commit all those penalties. Questionable coaching at SMU didn't drop a touchdown, Elijah Lofton. Questionable coaching didn't not call when JoJo Trader got tackled and dry humped in overtime in the end zone, or when Keelan Marion was clearly interfered up the sideline in regulation where they threw the flag and then said, oh, wait, you know what? No, we're not going to call that. That wasn't questionable coaching. So I just want to throw that out there. I think that there are coachable moments with coaching. I think that they are not as many. Everybody wants to ascribe poor performance to the coaching. And I don't think that every poor performance is ascribable to deficient coaching. See, this is the stuff I'm talking about. That game was not close, but because Miami allowed the scoreboard to be close, in the end, people like Michael Campbell, who clearly don't know ball, say things like this. And again, I know that the teams that Miami lost to were unranked. I know that those losses were bad. You should have won those games objectively, and I've said that. But you also lost 2 games, including a head-to-head against Miami. And so for anyone to say that those teams are in different competitive and performance-based tiers is asinine. It's fallacious on its face. And you want to ignore everything else when we say, okay, well, a third of your schedule are 4 of the worst teams in captivity. In Boston College, Stanford, Syracuse, and Arkansas. And again, when you are going to compare teams with the same record, we beat y'all. That has to count for something. But you're getting more credit for losing us than Miami is getting credit for beating Notre Dame. So, yeah. And it wasn't close. We left a lot of points on the field against Notre Dame. We whipped your ass up and down the field. Now, your secondary was very, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. But we ran the ball down your throat. We punched y'all in the mouth. Your generational running back, did Nathan. The other running back basically did nothing. He had one nice run that you hang your hat on about, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and da-da-da-da. Nothing. But really 2 missed plays gave you, but whatever. You can be wrong. You can be stupid. And clearly you're both because you're a Notre Dame fan. Sorry. I Falcon TRX fact, everybody hates Miami. Duh. I'm still scrolling the channel to see if there's anything else in here to get to. Michael Cam and dodging USC and breakdowns is obvious. Yeah, cool. Is there any point of playing any good teams anymore, retroactively or speaking? Not if you're Miami. But again, the evaluation in terms of Miami versus other teams is not consistent or the same. So other teams are getting credit for playing. Again, Notre Dame is getting all this credit for losing to Miami, and Miami gets no credit for beating them. Full stop. And again, I'm not even saying that Notre Dame is bad. They're very good. We still whip their ass. That's what I'm talking about. Give me the credit. Give us the credit of performance for that. And I agree with what Mike said and what Mark said. I think, honestly, it's Miami and Notre Dame over some other teams behind. But yeah, if it's one or the other, it has to be Miami. It has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, there's no reason to play the game. This is just counterintuitive to the nature of sport. If with the same ranking at the end or same record at the end of the year, they are in the playoff and not Miami, and we beat them head to head. Anyways. Appreciate y'all. Alec Cohen, how about them Baby Jesus QB actions? Been fun to watch. Baby Jesus is Malachi Tony's nickname. If you did not know that, it's been great. And Shannon Dawson said, they're going to continue to do things like that. They're not going to give him too much right now because he is a true freshman. I mean, basically he's a sophomore now because we're, 11 games into the season this weekend. But yeah, all those, he can throw it. He's thrown it, several times this year. He's 2 of 3. Missing that throw to Pringle, man, I really wanted that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. When Miami wins the next 2 games, do you think we can get in? Miami's mama's boy. I've been talking about that for a good long time. I do believe you know my answer. Jadarian Price and they didn't get the ball, the running backs in the opener because we took away the goddamn. I'm really done with everything, especially Michael Campbell in the chat. Yeah, that'll do it. So please be sure that you rock with us over at stateoftheu.com. It is a wonderful website. It is the low price of free. All kinds of great Miami Hurricanes content, commentary, and analysis up there for you all of the time. I'm at Underwood Sports on Twitter. The website's Twitter is at the State of the U that you can go and check out. And I'm going to go check out. So thanks for watching. Be sure that you like and subscribe. I'll see you next week, Wednesday. Goodbye.